Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Mona and I'm passionate about fragrances, and in this channel I talk about the fragrances that I love the most. The topic of the video is autumn fragrances, and in particular the autumn fragrances that I feel like are epitome of the autumn season. I have many autumn fragrances that I could have included in a list about in a video listing autumn fragrances, because there are really many that I adore and that I have in my collection. But the fragrances that I am talking about in this fragrance are the fragrances that make me think of autumn. So let's just start with the first fragrance, which is L'Orpheon by Diptyque. This fragrance is a very beautiful fragrance. It is a powdery, woody, aromatic scent, also slightly green and with slightly fruity element, but the fruity element of the berries, because here you have a juniper berry note, which is very prominent, especially in the opening, and for the first 10 minutes, maybe to 30 minutes, you have this prominent juniper berry note, which for some reason, when I smell the juniper berry note, it makes me think of something boozy, slightly alcoholic, or like a liquor or something, because of course it makes me think of the gin liquor. But it's not a sweet booziness like you can have with cognac or rum, where you have the sweet, dense, um, very sometimes also can lean towards a sexy direction, but it's another type of booziness. Here you have with juniper berry, you have a very sophisticated, elegant, aromatic and green kind of booziness. But then you have a very powdery elements and some woody elements, but very light woody elements. And the powderiness comes out as the fragrance dries down, but the juniper berry element remains. It just kind of blends in together with this beautiful powdery and woody aspect. So it makes this fragrance extremely elegant, also going in a very clean direction because of all this powderiness and this juniper berry element. Maybe probably because it is mixed with this powdery element, it's also clean. Somehow it's also very clean, and it's a beautiful one. I have to say that the first time that I smelled this fragrance, I wasn't so much into this fragrance because I expected something else from the descriptions that I heard about it. I was expecting something else, and then I smelled it, and for me it was too. This juniper note was a little bit too prominent. It seemed citrusy to me, but it's not citrusy. It's actually green and aromatic. But that's probably because I wasn't so much into the juniper berry note. But I feel like even if you don't like juniper berry, give this fragrance more than one chance, because this may be the fragrance that introduces you to the juniper berry note and makes you really appreciate it, because again, it's very prominent in the opening, but then it dries down to this beautiful powdery, woody, and also aromatic and green fragrance. So give this fragrance more than a chance. If you are not a fan of juniper berry, if you're already a fan of that note, you probably are going to fall in love with this immediately. I also want to say another thing about this fragrance, that I bought it in Paris because I went to Paris. I think it was the end of April, and it was springtime. By the way, I knew that I was going to go to Paris, and I already tried this fragrance and was falling in love with the fragrance. So when I decided that I needed this fragrance in my collection, I decided also to wait, because I knew that I was going to Paris. And in Paris, in particular, in the Tentricart Boulevard Saint-Germain, there is a Diptyque boutique. And in this Diptyque boutique, historically, there was a club called L'Orpheon, which is the club that gives the name to the fragrance. So I wanted to buy this fragrance in Paris, and in particular in the Diptyque boutique in Boulevard Saint-Germain. And by the way, if you, I think this is in each and every Diptyque fragrance. If you look to it closely, there is the 30 car, let's say it, 34 Boulevard Saint-Germain address in the bottle, in the label of the bottle. So it's a very iconic place, of course, to visit if you're going to Paris. Just go there, especially if you're a Diptyque fan. And of course, if you're planning to go to Paris and if you're also planning to buy l'Orpheon, well, it was a beautiful thing to have this fragrance as a memory from the trip in Paris and especially from that specific place. So this is the beautiful Orpheon. The next fragrance is a love of mine. I have been wearing this fragrance a lot the last fall and winter, and I'm talking about Venenum 32 by l'Artisan Parfumeur. This fragrance is another beautiful clean fragrance, but it's a completely different interpretation of a clean fragrance. This time you have a very warm, woody, spicy, and slightly sweet clean fragrance. With this fragrance, you have some notes that could be really unexpected if you just smell the fragrance, because you have a bread, milk, and tea and green tea note, and then you have sandalwood and spices. Well, actually, sandalwood is quite prominent in my nose, and also the spicy elements, but you wouldn't say that there are these gourmand leaning fragrances. You wouldn't say that there is bread. If you think of a fragrance that contains a bread note, you probably think of something much more strange. But this fragrance smells very, very clean, but in a very particular way. In a very there's a twist to this kind of clean aspect, and there is this gourmand leaning aspect, but it's just a sweetness. There's a warmth, a spicy element because of the spicy notes as well, but you definitely don't have a straightforward gourmand fragrance at all. This is basically, again, a clean scent. But you have this milky texture, slightly powdery texture with this kind of bready texture as well, and also this beautiful woody, but light woody, warm, smooth, and spicy element. But although you have all these elements, again, it is very, very clean. And it is beautiful. I've already talked about this fragrance, at least in one video, the one where I talked about signature scent fragrances, because this to me is a great signature scent for the entire fall and winter, and for a little bit of the spring as well, not for the summer because there is a warmth in here. But again, it's clean, although it has something warm about it. So especially if you're one like me that doesn't like clean, soapy, or too cold and clean fragrances, but you want something, you cannot search for something warm and enveloping even when you search for something clean. This can be a great option for you. And yes, to me it has been a signature scent. I don't know if you can see the level, maybe it is not so easy to spot it because the bottle is it's black. So but it's like here, the dent is like here, and it's very much for me because I have many fragrances. I'm always also testing samples, new samples. So sometimes I don't even use the fragrances that I own because I'm testing the samples that I have to see if I really like some new fragrance to add to my collection. So it's much of a big dent for me to this kind of a dent. So I've used it a lot and I will continue to use it this fall and winter. So Venenum 32 by l'Artisan Parfumeur. So the next fragrance is another one that is a beautiful one in my opinion for the fall and winter, and I think that's the first time that I talk about it in a video, at least on YouTube, and I'm talking about Inverness by Memo. This is a beautiful woody scent, but here you have iris as well, so you have this very airy, slightly powdery texture, with these woody notes. You have sandalwood and you have also gaiac wood. And the gaiac wood is a note that, especially in combination with sandalwood, I love so much because it has that specific woody smell, a specific woody texture that I truly, truly love. There is, of course, iris as well. There is a mate note, and I feel like I'm not the biggest fan of tea and mate and notes like that in a fragrance. But it depends. When those notes are the main aspect of the fragrance, are the focus of the fragrance, I usually don't like how the fragrance is going to smell like. But when those elements are there and just complement the fragrance, I feel like they can really add something unique and beautiful and very elegant to the fragrance. And I feel like here the mate notes brings this beautiful green element, green aromatic element that is really beautiful together with the iris, the sandalwood, the gaiac wood. But it remains very woody, very airy at the same time, but also warm. There's a coziness about this fragrance. And what I love about this fragrance is, in fact, the fact that you can wear it in a cozy situation without any problem. It can be quite casual and cozy. You can wear it, for example, to go or to just to lay on the couch. You're watching a movie with a loved one or with some friends, or maybe you're just at home playing some board games and you're watching this, and it's the perfect cozy scent for the autumn. Or you can also wear it in a very elegant situation where you're dressed a little bit more formally, more elegant, more, you're a little bit more dressed up, kind of a suit and tie situation, and you wear this fragrance and you're extremely elegant. Because yes, there is something about this woody aspect in this fragrance that it's extremely elegant but cozy at the same time. So I think it's a very versatile scent. And to me, this is completely unisex, even though these woody elements in here may make you think of, in the traditional division of fragrances into masculine and fragrances, this may be looked as something a little bit more masculine leaning. But to me, this is a very, very unisex, completely unisex, because you have also the iris at the amiris, which I think kind of smooths the fragrance, makes it a little bit more round and not sweet but round, and contrast with the sharpness of gaiac wood, and so it's completely in between. Beautiful unisex scent that it's very, very versatile and perfect for the fall and winter. Makes you also think of being in the woods, because it has this kind of woody sensation and this greenness, so it makes you think of this kind of slightly wet part of the forest, but in a very elegant way. So in the most beautiful way, in the most positive and beautiful way, and in a very elegant way. It's just a reminiscent when you smell it, but again, it's very cozy and elegant at the same time. So Inverness by Memo. It wouldn't be a video about full fragrances without at least a vanilla fragrance, and we have two in this video. This, the first that I want to talk about is Iris Malikhan. This to me is and has been for a very long time an epitome of an autumn fragrance. Here you have a beautiful vanilla fragrance with some aromatic elements. You have a very buttery texture. You have iris, of course, but the iris here is probably iris butter, because it kind of gives, together with the vanilla, it gives this beautiful buttery texture. It is sweet, but not at all in a gourmand direction, but there is some sweetness. It's very smooth. You have some leather underneath, but this is not a leathery fragrance at all. It's not prominent. It's not too in your face. It's just it just kind of gives more structure and depth to the vanilla and iris butter, and it mixes completely well with the vanilla iris butter combination. And then you have an aromatic and green aspect as well. You definitely have some coriander. You have galbanum and mimosa, which are quite, you can definitely tell that there is this element of mimosa and galbanum, and then you have also a cypress note in here. You have something else going on, but these are the notes that I get the most in here. And the cypress is not heavy or too deep at all, but I feel like it adds to this green structure of the fragrance. So this is a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. To me, it's very cool. It's not, it's elegant, but in a cool way. And it's very versatile as well. You can wear it on the daytime, nighttime. It's completely unisex. Is another one that it lies completely in between, and it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful one. And this has been a love of mine for 3 years, I think, now. And I know this is not so much talked about anymore. I know that there are so many new releases of beautiful fragrances that, probably took the place of fragrances that are not so much talked about. But I feel like it's still worth talking about this fragrance. And in particular, for me, this video it's not about new fall fragrances. It's about the fragrances that for me are the epitome of the fall or autumn. Sometimes I'm not an English native speaker, so for me these terms are interchangeable, and I just sometimes use one and sometimes use the other one. But anyways, yes, this so for me this video is about fragrances that for me have been in the time, well, at least in the time that I have been discovering fragrances, and are nowadays fragrances that make me think of fall. And this is a fragrance that definitely make me think of fall because of this beautiful buttery texture, because of this vanilla buttery texture, because of the aromatic green notes. It's definitely making me think of the fall. And I think galbanum is another note that whenever it is in a fragrance, it makes me think of fall. Sometimes also spring, depending, of course, of the other notes that it is combined with. But when it is combined to certain elements, certain notes, it definitely makes me think of autumn. So, Iris Malikhan by Maison Crivelli, one of the epitome of fall, especially in the vanilla fragrances realm. And now, last but certainly not least, another vanilla fragrance, which goes in a similar direction, but it's quite a different one. And I'm talking about Angelique Noire by Guerlain. This is another beautiful aromatic vanilla. But this time you have a texture that is much more juicy. This is the typical vanilla from Guerlain. And there is a kind of juicy texture. I don't know how to describe it, but it's not dense as in, or buttery as in vanilla. I see it in Iris Malikhan. Here you have something a kind of a more juicy texture of the vanilla, and you have this almost sticky, not as honey, but in a sticky direction, not too dense because somehow it manages to also be quite airy when you spray it, but it has this slightly sticky element, and it's much sweeter than Iris Malikhan. Still not at all in a gourmand direction, but there is a sweetness here. And you have, of course, this beautiful Angelica note in the opening. Well, it kind of remains all through the dry down, but it is more prominent in the opening, and then it kind of blends in with the vanilla. It's a beautiful, beautiful one. I kind of like Angelica. I didn't even know the notes so much before smelling this, but I have to say that for some people it's a little bit challenging as a note. For me, it's quite a beautiful note. It's very elegant. Of course, I never smelled a fragrance that has Angelica as its only focus. There is just focus on Angelica, but at least in this fragrance, I feel like it's very, very elegant. Of course, it's a Guerlain vanilla fragrance, so it is beautifully elegant. But again, the Angelica, I feel like kind of gives that much more elegance. I also like Spirituous Double Vanilla. I don't have it in my collection, but I do like that fragrance. and the vanilla in there is quite similar, even though it's a little bit more sweet and dark. There's some incense, but it is the structure of the vanilla, the DNA of the vanilla is quite similar, but this I feel like it's much more elegant because of this angelica green note. And this is a fragrance that makes me think of a particular image in my head. This girl has this beautiful, long, but very straight and simple black coat with a scarf, and she's wearing Angelique Noire, and she's walking in this boulevard or even a small street with these trees, and she's going to a library to read some book, or she's going to the university to study something about literature, or I don't know, maybe some kind of dark academia aesthetic, but not so dark, because this is not necessarily a dark fragrance. For me, it's also a kind of relaxing scent, but more like a scent for when you want to focus, for when you kind of want to stay in the moment to study or to read something that you're interested about. And it's cold outside, and it's kind of the time is a little bit more, it kind of slows down, everything slows down a little bit. Reminds me, even though I wasn't wearing this fragrance, maybe I was wearing something similar, I don't remember, but it reminds me, or it makes me think of when I was at the university, and there is this beautiful place in Rome which is called Villa Mirafiori, small villa. So you have this garden. It's this garden with some trees, there's also a little lake, and you have this beautiful ancient villa where basically you have your lesson of philosophy, and it's very evocative, it's very beautiful, and I picture, so for some reason this fragrance makes me think of that specific scenario in the autumn. So this is Angelique Noire by Guerlain. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. So thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye.